Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Black Logic. So, the U.S. Senate has confirmed that Tulsi Gabbard as President Trump, Director of the National Intelligence, by a 52 to 48 vote. I don't know if anyone was expecting for Tulsi Gabbard to win, or I guess be confirmed in these regards, but I expected such. I believe that most of Trump's selectees will be confirmed. Now, Gabbard, a former Democratic congresswoman from Hawaii and military veteran, faced a lot of opposition due to her past comments favoring to Russia and meetings with controversial figures like Bashar al-Assad. Despite initial skepticism, the GOP senators ultimately supported her nomination, viewing her commitment to refocusing the agency's core missions and maintaining independence as pivotal. Critics, however, argue that her lack of intelligence, experience, and questionable stances on issues such as Russia and Syria make her unsuitable for the role. Well, I'm glad there's some controversy. I don't believe that there's no figure in America, any person in America, without some sort of controversy in their background, whether it be personally, professionally, or even politically. I believe that there's always some sort of controversy of something you said, something you did, something you was accused of. I don't believe anyone is without fault. Now, President Trump has announced a significant shift in U.S. policy on Ukraine by agreeing with Russian President Vladimir Putin to initiate peace talks to end the ongoing war. And the decision follows a very surprising prisoner swap where Russia released Pennsylvania school teacher Mark Fogel in exchange for convicted Russian criminal Alexander Vinnik. Trump stated that he and Putin had a lengthy conversation and committed to working closely together, potentially meeting each other's countries. While Trump spoke with Ukrainian President Zelensky after his call with Putin, it remains unclear whether Ukraine will be part of the U.S.-Russia negotiations, causing concerns about sidelining Kiev participation in the peace process. Now, when I think about that, I wonder if the Ukrainian president need to be part of the peace talks. Because again, there's no way that Ukraine will win the war against Russia without American help, without American support. We have spent over $200 billion supporting the Ukrainian war against the Russians. So if the Russians and our American president foster a peace deal, should Ukraine automatically accept it? Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, hold up. Ukraine has to say so what they agree to, and you would be right. But I think if I'm predicting Donald Trump's action and the way he's been responding to things, if Ukraine does not accept this peace negotiation that him and Russia comes to an agreement with, America will no longer give their support to Ukraine. You're going to hear something like the reduction of, the decreasement. America has decided to decrease spending on Ukrainian resources. But again, to your point, I mean, Ukraine should have a say-so in how they come to a peace treaty with Russia. But again, they're in a place where they have really no power. And that is how these two powerful nations are looking at each other. I mean, the three most powerful nations in the world, do you guys know that? Do you guys know the three most powerful nations in the world? It's the US, Russia, and China. It's the US, Russia, and China. Those are the three most powerful nations. You can look at their land mass, you can look at their population, you can look at their GDP. But that's my take on it. And lately, what happens if President Trump starts ignoring a lot of the court rulings that he's been kind of subsiding from, if he started ignoring this, such actions could lead to a constitutional crisis, undermining the judiciary authority and the system of checks and the system of balances that are fundamental to American democracy. Ignoring court decisions may result in legal battles, potential impeachment proceedings, and a loss of public trust in the executive branch. It's crucial to uphold the rule of law to maintain the nation's democratic integrity. I don't think there's nothing else to be said. Now, in a move to intensify immigration enforcement, the White House, by the way of border czar Tom Homan, have removed top officials from immigration and customs enforcement, that's ICE. And these actions reflect the administration's commitment to stricter immigration policies and increased deportation. Not the deportation, because these are why these officials got removed. Now, this shakeup aims to align ICE leadership with President Trump's directives on immigration, giving a strong move and signaling a more aggressive approach in handling illegal immigrants, as they should. This is a process that is going to be going on for at least the next 4 years. This process will be going on for at least the next 4 years. As long as Donald Trump is in office, I believe. Oh, did you guys hear about the IRS? Yeah, I want to jump right to the IRS. I want to jump to the IRS. Because there's two stories to be told about the IRS. Because the Department of Homeland Security came out, and they're considering a plan to deputize IRS agents for immigration enforcement. I'm sorry. The Homeland Security is going to deputize IRS agents for immigration enforcement. Now, there may be some sort of elite, IRS tax evasion agent, some sort of super squad that goes after like the mafia and organized gangs and crimes. Are like, we're coming to get you because you evaded taxes and one of your cover businesses that you really deal drugs and weapons out of. And that's how they got a lot of these mobsters, because of tax evasions, because they were using their organizations as shell companies. So I guess there's some sort of elite unit in IRS. Maybe they went to go pick up Wesley Snipes. He left the country for tax evasion. I don't know, but they're going to deputize IRS agents for immigration enforcement. Wow. They're not kidding. They're pulling from all federal agencies to get in on this immigration enforcement, of this immigration deportation. And here's another thing. Did you know that the judge, and I don't know if I showed you guys this lately, it just came out not too long ago. It came out. I didn't even post it up here, guys. I didn't even post it up here. But let me show you this very quickly here. Now, this came out. Okay, this came out. And I don't know if you guys could see that, but they stated that the judge allows Trump deferred resignation plan for federal workers to proceed. So again, a federal judge in Boston allowed Trump administration bid to offer deferred resignations to federal workers who voluntarily leave government services. So there's a judge in Boston said, yeah, he can do that. They say Trump can do that in Boston. Here's something else I want you guys to think about. All of these workers who are opting out and leaving their jobs, won't they ask some of them, and I don't know what age they are. Maybe they're anywhere from 25 to 70. But for those who are able-bodied and able health, any of you guys interested in being a law enforcement agent? or a deportation agent. Again, I'm not making, I'm just saying there's an opportunity there because they're deputizing all of these agencies that they do have federal law enforcement, they do have agents that carry guns, but they are not trained to be immigration officers. I'm pretty sure they go through some sort of training. I will hope so. But nonetheless, I will offer them that opportunity as well. I think it's just something to look at. Now, I know you guys been hearing this rumor that President Trump has proposed. He has proposed abolishing the federal income tax, suggesting that such a move could return the U.S. to its richest period in history. Like, yeah, get rid of the IRS. And this particular proposal would represent a significant shift in the nation's tax policy, potentially increasing disposable income for many Americans, but also raising questions about federal funding programs and services. Because the administration would need to identify alternative revenue sources to offset the loss of income tax revenue. Because what he stated is, let's get rid of the IRS and let's impose a tax, a nation's tax. That's all essentially that they are trying to do. And as we walk down a lot of the taxes, are you guys familiar with the taxes that you pay? Now, I'm pretty sure the majority of you guys are familiar with the taxes that you pay. You guys pay federal income tax, state income tax, payroll tax, sales tax, property tax, and excise tax. And excise tax is actually sin tax. Sin tax. What do I mean by sin tax? Sin tax is for when you buy junk food, when you buy alcohol, when you buy drugs in prospective states where, certain paraphernalia is legal. If you watch pornography, you pay an extra tax called sin tax or excise tax. So they're thinking about getting rid of the IRS and this imposing a national tax. I wonder what that would be. And then they stated that they will leave it up to the states. And I'm like, wait a minute. How would the federal government get their money then? If it's just one tax, a national tax. I think the federal government would then tell the states, depending on, each state has its own economy. Okay, America has an economy that is a combination of all the states, but each state has their own economy, because when you look in certain states, I want you to think about it. Look at Alabama versus Texas. Texas is booming. Alabama, I want you guys to look at Georgia when it comes to Atlanta, right? Georgia has Atlanta, big city, a lot of businesses. Now I want you to look at Missouri. St. Louis, not on the same scale as Atlanta. So each state, because of the different cities and imports, exports, and resources that they have their own economy. Now, of course, Texas and California are always going to be some of the largest, as well as New York. New York is big business. Texas is big oil. That's how Texas got their name on the map. And California have always been with, actors and entertainers. So these are three very large markets. So the federal government could come in and say, well, according to your GDP, you should be allotting the government 15% of your yearly revenue. I mean, could they do it? Absolutely. They could absolutely do it. I wonder if he'll do it. A national tax where you just pay one tax. And he's talking about getting rid of income tax. Wow. That would be phenomenal. Because here's the bill. He's not kidding around. They already proposed the bill. Now, it's only been introduced. So if you guys ever want to look up certain legislation, you can always go to congress.gov//bill. And you just have to type their prospective bill number or keywords up here where it states legislation. And then you can check on the tracker to see what position it is in. So I'll upload again, I'll make sure that's large enough for you guys. HR 25 under the 119th Congress, first session, that states that to promote freedom, fairness, and economic opportunity by repealing the income tax and other taxes, abolishing the Internal Revenue Service, and enacting a national sales tax to be administered primarily by the states. So it'd just be your state tax, and then the federal government will just take a certain percentage of that. And then I'll just read a little bit more that is not highlighted, but there were some key things in here. They say it's findings relating to federal income tax retards economic growth and has reduced the standard of living of the American public, impedes the international competitiveness of the U.S., reducing savings and investment in the U.S. by taxing income multiple times. Yep. The government is snitching on themselves. That's why everyone is loved what Trump is doing when it comes to legislation, when it comes to economics, as well as DOGE. Lowers productivity, imposes unacceptable and unnecessary administrative and compliance costs on individual and business taxpayers, unfair and inequitable, impedes upward social mobility. I mean, they have a whole sleeve. So again, you can go and read this bill for yourself, but I thought it was pretty cool. And I would love to see this get passed. I would love just to pay one tax. And again, a lot of people are going to state, well, this is going to benefit the wealthy. This is going to benefit the filthy rich. He's just doing this for his rich friends. That could be true. And at the same time, it can assist the American people and where we pay less taxes because, again, this is going to be 1%. Okay, it's not going to be all these different percentages. When it comes to my income, I pay 35%. When it comes to my state sales tax, I pay 6.5%. When it comes to my property insurance, based upon my interest rate times the amount my mortgage is, I have to pay this percent. It's just going to be one tax. See, they're going to make the government work harder. You know why? All those taxes that I just combed through, they may no longer exist to you, but the government on the back end has to figure out where these taxes account for fire departments, police officers, school teachers, and the infrastructure. So we still need this one. We can either rename it or just leave it part of a hierarchy of how we then divide each person's taxes. On their end, they're just going to see a national tax, but we're still going to allocate it the way we did. You see what I'm saying? And then the federal government will have to essentially take part of that state's GDP a year. Again, I don't want to lose you guys with that, but I believe some of you guys know exactly what I'm referring to. Good evening, everyone. If you're new to Black Logic, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you for joining me here. Thank you for joining me here this evening. So tonight, I don't know if you guys are familiar with John Henry Thompson. You guys familiar with John Henry Thompson? Well, every time you play a video game, watch an animation, or interact with multimedia content online, you're using technology that John Henry Thompson created. Now, he's a very brilliant computer scientist and inventor who developed Lingo programming, the coding language behind Macromedia Directive, and Shockwave, two of the most important multimedia platforms of the early internet era. Yet he laid the foundation for Flash, interactive web design, video game development, and digital animation. Yet his name is rarely mentioned in the tech history. So today, we give a good salute to John Henry Thompson and his well-deserved recognition, because he was born in 1959 in Jamaica. John Henry Thompson showed an early passion for technological and creativity. He studied computer science and visual arts at the prestigious Massachusetts Institute of Technology, that's MIT. His goal was to merge art and programming, creating tools that would allow computers to be used for more than just data processing. At a time when Black engineers were rare in tech, Thompson broke through and made history. Now, in the 1980s, digital media was just beginning to evolve. Computers were powerful but lacked the ability to easily create and manipulate graphic animations through video games. Now, Thompson saw an opportunity because in the late 1980s, he developed Lingo, a scripting language for macro media directive. Lingo became the backbone of interactive multimedia, allowing users to create animations, games, and digital applications. It was one of the first languages to make object-oriented programming accessible for multimedia creators. Now, without Lingo, early web animations and game development would not have advanced as quickly. Thompson's inventions paved the way for modern multimedia applications. Lingo was used in early game development, setting the stage for flash-based gaming. Power Shockwave was with a precursor to Adobe Flash, used for animations, interactive ads, and web-based applications, allowing artists and developers to create interactive educational content, virtual museums, and e-learning tools. He shaped modern visual effects, animation software, and design tools. His work influenced everything from the early 2000s Flash games to today's advanced game engines. Now, despite his groundbreaking contributions, Thompson faced racism in the tech industry where Black programmers were underrepresented. A lack of credit as mainstream media rarely acknowledged his role in multimedia programming. The erasure of Black innovators from conversations about early internet and gaming history. But he persisted, proving that people of his caliber is at the core of technological advancements. Lingo became a key programming language for over a decade in multimedia production. Shockwave and Director helped shape modern digital media, influencing the development of tools like Adobe Flash and Unity. His vision of combining programming with creativity inspired generations of developers, artists, and game designers. John Henry Thompson is more than just a computer scientist. He is a revolutionary force in digital media. So the next time you play Call of Duty, like myself, or Madden, now I'm playing God of War, like Ragnarok. But nonetheless, or you watch an animation or interact with a multimedia project, I want you guys to think about and honor John Henry Thompson. Now, brother's still with us today. He did a very remarkable thing. And just to point out, he is not a foundational Black America. He was born in Jamaica, but his contributions to this country and to this world is absolutely phenomenal. Because again, this is excellence as we see it. Thank you guys for joining me here this evening. You guys have a great and wonderful night. This is Black Logic.